We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our new abode here. We've had some renovations. Unfortunately, the chairs aren't in, but the lighting is much improved. So I'm glad to have everybody here. We're always glad to have visitors. And I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on January 9th, 2024, and ask our city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Present. I'll ask Commissioner Guess to give the invocation, and I'll ask everybody to remain standing while we pledge allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and just thank you for each and every person that's here and each and every person that's up here. Just please open our minds, open our ears, and just everything that we do, let it be pleasing to your sight. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening.
Okay, great. Okay, we have a few people here to make public comments, and so I'll start off and ask Carrie Hopper, would you like to come up and kick it off for us?
Thank you. You want me to stand right here?
Please.
going to go
A couple of questions that I...
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. My fault. I just want to go over the kind of the rules of engagement here a little bit, so.
I don't like rules.
Won't take long. So comments are limited to 3 minutes. We try to be respectful. I don't want to cut people off, but we have to limit it. And everybody needs to maintain decorum and respectfulness, during the presentation. And that's, I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's the main thing. So.
You want to have them
I'll try to
state their
abide
name
by
and
the rules.
address?
Yeah, and yes, sorry, thank you. And state your name and your address and whether or not you are a city resident.
Okay. My name is Carrie Hopper. I own a business co-owner of a business at 225 Broadway, the Courtroom, and 136 Broadway, Doe's Eat Place. I live at 4600 Exall, Paducah, Kentucky.
Great.
Two things that I would like to bring up. One thing I think we're here for is to talk about the music that's downtown. So whenever there's a problem, I like to bring a possible solution. So one of my solutions that I would like for the city to consider is that you can purchase a wireless system called, I wrote it down here. It's actually things that other cities use. It's called Street Sounds for your main street. It is a solution. It is a city-managed acoustic system. You can go online. I have all the information for that. So it would be a wireless system that would be in place downtown, and you, the city, would drive that music. That way each street's not playing rock and roll, Metallica, country. It would all be mainstreamed through the city. It's all wireless. There's lots of information that other city governments, main streets are using this type of system. So then it would all be on the same page. When visitors were there, they would all be hearing the same thing. The dialogue would be driven by the city. If you had other events, if you have a music event, you have to gain a permit from the city anyway. So the city would know on that particular day they would not be having any music because there's a band playing or there's whatever event, because you already have to go through the city to get the permit. So that might be a solution that could be discussed. The second thing that I would like to talk about is when I was looking at the philosophy and the visions and the values of the city of Paducah, because I kind of wanted to go back and kind of look at, are we following those? Are we on kind of line with that, you know, with what we're doing? And our current mission, from what I could tell, is to be the best city in the world. That's kind of hard to measure. So normally you want to have some kind of objectives that are measurable. And so how do you measure that at the end of the year? So unless I see that was updated in December of 2018, I would like to see more clear, measurable objectives, short-term and long-term. Short-term being a year, and then at the end you can measure those. You know, how do you measure being the best city in the world? How did we meet that? Versus if we had, you know, more measurable objectives, you know, bring 3 new businesses to downtown. At the end of the year, did you do that? If we didn't, then how do we make that better? Now, all of those things are going to streamline to make you a better city, but to be, our mission statement to be the best city in the world, I think that's really hard to measure. There's my 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Cheryl Sabota? Did I pronounce your name correctly? You did. Okay.
My name is Cheryl Sloboda. I own the property at 117 North 4th Street in downtown Paducah. I am a Paducah resident, and I'm speaking on my own behalf as CEO of Muppin Incorporated, the business that relocated here to downtown in 2022. Most of downtown's a mixed-use residential and commercial property, and Paducah even has a grant for upper-story residential renovation, which shows me that Paducah is encouraging more people to reside downtown in the downtown economic zone. And in fact, we hope to utilize this exact grant for our renovation for our building on 117 North 4th Street, which we hope to live in as well as run our business. Enforcement of noise ordinances like Section 42101, enforcement of all ordinances is in the city's financial interest. Not only does your resident feel like they are being heard, but each violation comes with a fine. Fines levied for noncompliance act as a financial deterrent. If calls from residents downtown are not being listened to, what other ordinances will they not respond to when I need them? You're actively recruiting residents to this downtown zone, but not listening to them when they move here. I can tell you that the noise ordinance is one of many ordinances that are completely ignored downtown. Parking ordinances are ignored. My tourist customer frets over parking on the street for fear of being ticketed. Why? Because this is how it's done everywhere else, except Paducah. The fire hydrant ordinance is also ignored. The fire hydrant in front of my own building is blocked daily by people who park in front of it. Anywhere else, this is an immediate ticket in tow, except Paducah. Even the new EDC zone downtown isn't patrolled or policed. Otherwise, why would we property owners have open beer cans and bottles in our planters each morning? I can go on and on about ordinances that seem to be ignored and that are designed to make our city safe and welcoming to live in. But what about the thousands and thousands of tourists we encourage to come here? As a business owner, I don't leave money on the table. Not one of the many places I have ever lived has thought that the fines collected was a waste of city resources. Everywhere I have lived collected fines for noncompliance, except Paducah. If our voices as property owners, business owners, residents, and stakeholders downtown aren't heard and/or addressed, then there's an election coming where we can work to seat a council who will hear and act on these issues, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Chad Byer?
My name is Chad Byer. I own several properties downtown. I own 401 Broadway, 313 Broadway, 405 Broadway, and in the process of purchasing another property in downtown Paducah. I'm not a resident of Paducah, though I have been in the recent past. In those properties, there are 4 businesses and 6 apartments, 6 residences. I've maintained a business in downtown Paducah for 19 years, which is hard to believe. What I want to share is my experience in owning business in downtown Paducah and in living in downtown Paducah. The apartment that I lived in with my family was at 401 Broadway above my office. During that period of time, we saw a change in downtown Paducah. In that prior to leaving, we now live in McCracken. Prior to leaving, my wife was not comfortable any longer walking our dog in the evening. I was uncomfortable sending my kids to walk our dog in the evening. We spent many nights in our bed listening to the music and being capable of singing every word at 1 in the morning. You couldn't sleep. Additionally, it's not unusual for the city police to come to my office to get video. We have provided video for shootings, shots fired, I'm not sure anyone was hit, street fights, wrecks, cars running the opposite direction down Broadway. Again, I've invested in downtown Paducah 16 years ago. I was on the committee for Main Street when the idea of incentives was pitched. I've used those incentives to the city's benefit and my benefit. We've been good partners. I had a very wise man who happens to be sitting here tonight, a previous planning administrator here. He told me, we were talking about downtown development, and what he told me was, we were talking about parking and that it was a problem. And he said, Chad, a parking problem is a good problem. It means you have people. So here's what I see sitting here looking back over time and downtown changing over these 19 years and where we sit and what I've experienced. We have a problem, but it's a good problem because what this conversation means is that we have businesses downtown that are bringing people. We have residences that are full. The number of residences in downtown Paducah from the time I started till now, there was a handful back then. I don't know what the count is, 30? 120. What is it?
122 condos.
122. So you think about the change in that period of time. Literally when I started, there was probably 10. And so, congrats. We've done a good job as a community of bringing people downtown. I'm going to wrap up.
Sure.
We've done a good job. We have a problem. It's a good problem. This does not have to be an emotional conversation. I've experienced the negativity of loud music. I clean up trash every week, every morning, Monday morning for sure when I come in. My wife's front of her store is full of bottles. That means people are downtown. I don't believe those people that are doing those things are buying buildings. I don't believe they're starting businesses. I don't believe they're spending money in our boutiques on Monday morning. They're out partying, and that's all well and good. I like loud music. I like to drink a beer. I love a mezcal margarita. But these problems have to be solved from a place of intentionality of what we want Paducah to be. And for me, I've lived here my entire life. I sat in Santa Claus's lap at the bus stops that aren't there anymore. I don't want Paducah to be Bill Street. I don't want it to be downtown Nashville. I don't want it to be downtown Carbondale. I want it to be downtown Paducah. We have an opportunity as a community and you all as a commission to help shape that, and it needs to happen with intentionality. We have a problem, but it's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. John Barry?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, City Clerk. I have prepared a packet for each one of you tonight. Included in the packet are 6 letters from concerned citizens that could not be here. A copy of a Facebook post that the city posted on June 23rd during the time that the police were meeting with our neighborhoods, reduce noise and reduce pollution and excessive noise. What would you do if you lived where there was loud music in your front yard every day from 1 o'clock until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning until they decide they want to quit? I'm going to read a few items that are on the noise ordinance. The city refuses to enforce the noise ordinance. Section 42102, the residences of the city recognize that uncontrolled noise restraints, a damage to the health, welfare, and the safety and their neighbors, and that each resident of the community is entitled to live in an environment in which the level of impulse and amplified noise is minimized for the community good. Section 42103, noise means any sound that is emitted by a person, animal, appliance, equipment, instrument, or other device. Noise disturbance means any sound that endangers or injures the safety, the health of humans and animals, or a noise that disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensibilities or endangers, injures, or seriously interferes with the quiet enjoyment of reasonable use of real personal property or exceeds the limits set out in Section 42104. 104, location of measurement of purpose of this section. Sound shall be measured at or within the property boundary of the property receiving the noise, or not less than 20 feet from the source of the sound when the sound is in the public right-of-way. Other than noise disturbances. It shall be lawful for any person to make, continue, or cause, or allow to be made any continue or noise disturbance, including but not limited to the following: radios, phonographs, the like. The playing and using of operating and permitting to be played, used, or operated of any radio receiving musical instrument, phonograph, or other machine or device for the producing or reproducing of sound in such a manner as to disturb the peace and quiet and comfort of the neighboring inhabitants, or at any time with louder volume than necessary for convenient hearing of the persons who are there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Carla Berry?
Lindsay, I'm going to talk quicker than you. Okay. This is what we want Paducah to look like. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City Clerk. My name is Carla Berry. John and I reside at 212 Broadway. We own 212, 214 Broadway, 112 South 3rd Street, a garage and parking lot. We're here tonight because it's our understanding that the mayor and the city commissioners are planning to repeal a portion of the existing noise ordinance. Paducah is at a tipping point in our downtown, and we must come together with discussion that includes individuals that are stakeholders to make decisions that will affect the future of our downtown. I don't believe that any of the members of the commission own property downtown or spend time downtown late at night between 10 o'clock and 3 a.m. Currently, there are 122 condos, apartments from 7th Street to the 100 block made up of full-time residents, renters, and many Airbnbs. There are over 44 in our 200 block alone, and there are more units in the planning stages. These figures do not include the 105 apartments in the Cobb Hotel apartments. The audience tonight is represented large investors and have created and helped our downtown to flourish. Many are planning to spend millions on projects that are currently being proposed. There are concerned residents, merchants, restaurant owners, bar owners, and citizens for our community that come to our downtown to shop and support our restaurants. For the last 18 months, John and I have been experiencing loud music in our home, and it's coming from outside speakers across the street from us at 217 Broadway. Since October, we've called the police 23 times, and they refuse to enforce the noise ordinance that clearly says that we should not hear any loud noise coming from a building that is more than 50 feet from their front door. The city is clearly being selective as to what ordinance they enforce. It was proposed to us that we were only people complaining about the noise when in fact many had been watching us and watching what's happening to us and decided it wasn't necessary to complain to the city because the city won't do anything about it. John and I decided to reach out to a few stakeholders and get their opinion. We found that there are at least 4 bars downtown, possibly 5, that are playing loud music over speakers, sometimes until 3 a.m. in the morning. Again, in our case, it's 1 p.m. until the owner decides to close. The Airbnb located at 108 South 3rd Street and 215 Broadway hand out earbuds and sound machines to their guests to cover up the noise coming from the bars next door to them and have outside speakers emitting loud music and large crowds gathering. Cynthia's has outdoor dining in the warmer months, and the music coming outside the speakers located at 117 Market House Square is also breaking this noise ordinance. The Market House has also complained about the music during the performance and rehearsals. Both were present and complained at our last neighborhood meeting held by the police department. Our back parking lot during the hours of 9 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights becomes a gathering place for drunks, litter, broken bottles, body fluids, and drug paraphernalia. John and I feel that the commission and the mayor and the police department have failed to support us. You all have abandoned us. We have even been told by police officers to wear earphones to listen to TV in our home and cancel the noise. Also just learn to put up with it. That's our home. We've lived here 9 years. We have our life savings in this project. We love the fact that downtown is growing. This is exactly why we chose to do our project. We love our community and wanted to help kickstart downtown. We've spent hours out front of our building meeting people from all over the world that come to our downtown to stay and enjoy the shopping, restaurants, and the nightlife. However, currently, there are 2 different sides to what we look like. By day, our Main Street has done a wonderful job creating a historical, charming experience. And the merchants, residents, restaurants, and 3 exclusive bars have poured their heart and soul into making their business a safe, enjoyable community. I had a discussion with Matt at Foxbriar and Shim at Beryl and Bond. They both explained that they are mindful of their surroundings and want their customers to enjoy the experience downtown at night. They close their doors by midnight because they don't want their customers to experience the nonsense that's going on downtown late at night. The Johnson Bar is mindful as well. New Year's Eve, they were very crowded, and they have outside seating, but the owners do not put up with that nonsense. Honestly, many of the people that are partying after midnight do not spend money in our restaurants or shops or boutiques. Tonight, we were proposing that you enforce the existing noise ordinance and not allow any outside speakers at all, and consider changing the closing times of the bars and restaurants to 1 a.m. We do not want our quality of life compromised by loud music beginning at 1 p.m. until closing. Neither do the people before you tonight. This situation will only allow our properties to depreciate. The situation is infringing on our civil rights as property owners. We should not have to suffer because the city has made the selective choice to not enforce the noise ordinance. This could have all been resolved if you had given each bar and restaurant a copy of the noise ordinance and given them 30 days to comply, and if they didn't, they would be fined $250 per accordance as stated in the ordinance. Now tonight, Paul and Jorge are out of town. Cynthia had a family emergency, and Will and Kyle from the Dim Light, they're out of town. And Gail Kaler said to send her best too. She's sick. So thank you all for your time. And Buzz, thank you for your support. He has gone well beyond the duty of his job. He has tried everything he can to help us. Thank you all.
Thank you, Carla. The next item on the agenda is a presentation about the Sports Tourism Commission.
Mayor, I want to ask one more question. In my speech, I spoke about involving the stakeholders downtown. When you all make this decision, I think it's only fair that you form a committee of people that live downtown and own businesses downtown. We want to know what the results are going to be. In the 18 months that John and I have done this, we've not heard any results from anything.
Yeah, you will get a definite written response.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much.
you have my word on that.
If you give us time to leave, we don't.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anybody that wants to leave is welcome to leave. And thank you for being here.
Sure, please do.
We ran everybody off.
Yeah, I don't guess you're a very good speaker. They didn't want to.
I even spit my gum out like Commissioner Wilson taught me. And I'm like,
I don't have any gum in your mouth, do
I
you?
don't.
Everybody's gonna leave.
All right, we'll get started. I'm a little taller than Jeff, so we may have to move this down. But, well, first of all, good evening, and thank you guys for having us. On behalf of the McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission, I want to thank the McCracken County Fiscal Court and the Paducah City Commission for your continued support of the design and development of the Paducah Sports Park. In 2019, the McCracken County Fiscal Court entered into an interlocal agreement with the City of Paducah to create the McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission. Over the last 4 years, the STC has completed a master plan, hired the design team of PFGW Architects, Bacon Farmer Workman Engineering, and Hitchcock Design Group, and hired as owners, representatives, and operator sports facilities companies. This team has been crucial in the submittals of the 95% bid documents you've received. With approvals of these documents, the design team will issue the bid documents, and the STC will return to both the Fiscal Court and the City Commission with bids for approval. Right now, I want to introduce Jeff Cantor, lead architect. Jeff is going to give you an overview of the design documents, and then after the presentation, I will return and present the opinion of cost and answer any questions you guys may have for us. Okay?
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Clerk. Honored to be back in front of you this evening to make this presentation. This, as Jim alluded to, this has been a multi-year project. This is, I think we were trying to count yesterday from inception, 4.5 years from the idea to today. And we've been involved with it for 4 years now with master planning and up to today. So what I want to do, we have submitted to the owner, the city, the county Sports Tourism Commission, 95% complete construction documents. It means we're just really super close to finalizing all the drawings that need to go out to bid. What I want to do tonight is go through those very briefly. There's 367 sheets of drawings. I'm not going to do that tonight. We don't have time for that, and my wife would like to see me home sometime this evening. But what I want to do, I've got about 46 slides or so here that I'm going to walk through the site, talk about different areas of the site, an overview of the buildings, so that everybody has a good idea about where we are in this process and what this complex will ultimately look like. So with that, we like to start with this slide because this drove everything that we did as a design team in conjunction with the Sports Tourism Commission. The principle number one is to become a regional destination for athletic tournament play. Principle two is to provide high-quality athletic experiences for the local community. And then principle three is to further develop the unique brand of Paducah and McCracken County. And we feel like we've kept those things very cognizant at the forefront of our design process as we've gone through this. Some of these images you have seen before, if you've kept up with us and the updates we've provided. Not a lot has changed over the past 6 to 8 months as far as some of the overall site. Some of the details have changed in some of the designs. This is a site plan where you see on the right side of the screen there is a Bluegrass Downs area, and on the left side of the screen, upper left, is the Stuart Nelson Park area. And so just for orientation purposes, as you see, and I don't know, there's no mouse. So right in this area is Downs Drive, where 32nd Street comes into the property. There at the traffic light at Chipwin and Watermark Honda. And then the road winds on around. Stuart Nelson Park Road, for orientation purposes, is here, coming out to Park Avenue, or Hinkleville Road, or US 60, whatever it is called in that area. Can't keep it straight. So that's just for kind of overall site context. As we zoom in here to the Bluegrass Downs portion, you see a little bit more. We've got 5 fields in this area. All of the fields that we have designed are all synthetic turf. So playability, quality, there's no chance for weather delays unless it's lightning, because the fields will drain and you won't have mud to contend with and all that. That was a conscious decision from the Sports Tourism Commission early on to design for that. So 5 fields. We've got areas for maintenance. We've got future areas for pickleball and basketball. Parking it was a big thing that we needed to contend with in these designs. And I'll go through the parking numbers here in just a second. But you start to get a sense of the space. We've got stormwater detention because we know that's something that is mandated, but also just necessary for this space. Maintenance areas, and then just amenity zones where there's playgrounds and sidewalks for the public to engage in this complex. For the parking count for this portion of the complex, there are 682 permanent parking spaces on this portion of the complex. That means paved, striped, curb and gutter, where we can do that. So that's 682 permanent parking spaces. There are also 480 overflow parking spaces, which may mean that they're in grass, but there's additional space for overflow parking when larger events take place here. On the Stuart Nelson side of things, this is where the disc golf course is located, and I'll talk through some of the modifications that were necessary for that course here in a minute. But we see there are 5 fields. It looks like 4 of the fields have been combined together to form 500-foot square synthetic turf fields. Those can accommodate up to 4 baseball diamonds, and we'll talk through the field counts here in a minute. But that is, in fact, 5 athletic fields on the Stuart Nelson portion side of this park. Again, concession restrooms, amenity zones, parking counts on this side are 535 permanent parking spaces with another 43 overflow spaces. This side of the park is a little tighter with space because of the disc golf course and the field sizes, and some space we set aside for the Stuart Nelson Park Memorial to Dr. Nelson and the park's history. So we had a little less space for overflow parking, but that grand total of parking spaces, permanent and overflow, for the entire complex is 1,740. Sports Facilities Company is the organization that Sports Tourism Commission has hired to operate and manage this facility, has assured us that's enough. That's more than enough for what they need for programming of this facility, and we've been working with them in concert for the past, since probably the last year and a half to work through this as far as programming and field sizes, parking requirements, and all of that. The diamond fields, these are the 4 fields that are on the Bluegrass Downs side of things. These will accommodate 1 primary baseball, softball field or 2 smaller here in the right field and left field corners. It will accommodate a U12 soccer field, which is not the largest, but think 12 years old and younger could play on that field. So we've really tried to design these fields to be multi-purpose. The championship field, which is located directly in front of the grandstand, that will remain and be retrofitted and renovated to be used in this facility, is roughly the same. The only difference here is that it will accommodate the largest soccer field out there, a U19 field, which is 360 feet in length by 240 feet in width. This allows for the championship field to host baseball, softball championship games, or any rectangular field sport other than rugby on that championship field. Rugby requires a little bit larger field that we just could not accommodate at the championship field, but because of the design of those 2 larger fields at Stewart Nelson Park, we can accommodate 2 rugby fields in this facility, which is pretty unique. So this shows the potential layout of soccer fields over these diamond fields, and so you see with the U6 field, it's a smaller field. We can get 10 of those on one of these fields, and so you start doing the math. You're within 4 fields, you can have 40 U6 soccer fields going on at one time, which seems excessive. That's a lot of 6-year-olds running around. But you start doing the math, get up to U8, U10, U12, and so you can start to see the economy of scale here with the number of fields that can be accommodated in these diamond fields. On the rectangular field side at Stewart Nelson Park, this is a representation of the single rectangular field at the north edge of that park along the Greenway Trail. This will accommodate a U19 soccer field. So the largest soccer field, the length of this entire synthetic turf area is 550 feet. So more than enough space for the field accommodation plus any runoff space. Beyond that, warm-up areas for teams as they're getting to the field. This will accommodate 2 baseball fields, softball fields on that layout. And then this is just again, the pod will accommodate 2 U19 fields and then numerous smaller fields and also 4 baseball fields. The rectangular field here you see will accommodate 10 U6 fields. So you start to do the math here. You could do 50 U6 games on the Stewart Nelson Park side. And so again, that's kind of the worst or best case scenario, depending on how you look at it. But again, everything was designed with flexibility in mind. The fields will all be synthetic turf, as I mentioned. The fields will not be striped permanently. They'll be striped according to the needs of that weekend tournament or the local use, as it were. They'll have some permanent tick marks for reference points on them, and then they'll be striped as needed. So that eliminates, you probably have all seen some of these youth fields that just you don't have a clue what sport or what is going on there because there's so many different colored lines, and you just don't know what's what. That won't be the case here. Turf color has not been selected yet, but we're going to make sure that the infield dirt color is not a stark contrast to the grass color to make it feel more professional, to where you don't feel like you're playing soccer on a baseball field. And so that's something we'll get into and making those selections here soon. What I want to do now is just kind of walk through different elements of the site. And I forgot to say, if you have any questions about anything that's on the slide as I go, please don't hesitate to ask those questions as I go. I don't want anybody to forget, and I'd rather answer it as I go if we can. So any questions about the field layouts or anything? Okay. So this is the championship field and entry plaza area. This is directly behind the grandstand. This is the first thing you'll encounter as you enter the park. As you come off 32nd Street and Downs Drive, this will be the thing that you see, that you're encountered with. The grandstand, we'll talk about those renovations here in a few minutes, but this is the kind of the grand entry to the entire facility. We've got 3 lanes of drop-off area here for families to drop their kids off, to drop their families off as they come into this. The design intent here is that most people, as they encounter this facility for the first time, will be funneled through the grandstand as an entry point. It's kind of the grand entry. They don't always have to come through the grandstand to enter the park, but that's kind of the design of this, is to kind of have that grand entry point. We've got a championship plaza out here, which is the circle area. That's just a space for those, those selfies, those group photos, Instagram moments, TikTok moments, if you're into that sort of thing, which kids are. And just it creates a space where just a photo opportunity. Stuart Nelson Memorial, flipping over to Stuart Nelson Parkside. This is something we're still in designing and finalizing the design on. This was something that we committed to from the moment that Stuart Nelson Park became a possibility in this complex. We were committed to preserving the history of the park from a historical perspective, the significance, the cultural significance, historical significance of the park, but also Dr. Nelson himself. There is just very little out there about him. There's a plaque that was installed in 2016, and that's it, and that's not enough. So we have committed and preserved this space roughly where the dog parks are now, to telling the story of the park's history, the park's significance, and Dr. Nelson's significance in history, as well as probably some larger context of African American history in Paducah, McCracken County, and maybe the larger region. As I said, we're still trying to finalize some designs on that. We've had conversations with the Paducah Historical Preservation Group, which is committed to preserving and celebrating African American historical assets in this region. And then we've also had some conversations with Brent Leggs as well, and he's given us some input on his thoughts on the design process, and that's kind of where we are at this point, trying to get those into a reality. The images you see on the left are just some precedent imagery of some possible interpretive pieces that could be placed in this area that would tell the story of Dr. Nelson or the park's history. Those final decisions have not been made yet, but will be soon. Just north of that Stuart Nelson Memorial area is a community playground. This is something that Stuart Nelson Park lacks right now, at least in this quality sense. This will be a large visible playground that will be you think of the one at the Boundless Playground over at Noble Park now, over to the east side of the lake. This will be something like that, very visible, very tall, safe, and accessible. That was one thing we were committed to, is making it accessible for children of all abilities. And so these are our design concepts for that. We don't have any, you see these kind of ramped up areas. The earth will be bermed up around the back side of this, and that will provide the access to this upper level. So it'll be like a sloped sidewalk that'll go up and access this. And so this would be a great asset in this area as the public park portion of this project. The Greenway Trail connections, we'll have additional Greenway Trail connections throughout the complex. And so I imagine, families riding their bikes, jumping off the Greenway Trail in this corner, parking their bikes at the bike racks that'll be located in this area and playing on the playground, and then riding back to wherever they started from. In this area also will be a large picnic shelter, a 40 by 60 picnic shelter that will have permanent restrooms in this area. That's one thing that Stuart Nelson Park lacks right now, is permanent accessible restrooms. The disc golf course, I know that's something that they have desired for a while, and so this is becoming a reality that'll solve a couple of needs in that area. The disc golf course is a huge asset for this community and this region. We have learned a great deal about disc golf. I don't play, never have. I've walked the course to learn more about it, but this is something this is a very challenging course, and it's a much loved course. And so our commitment, early on we had about 3 of the disc golf holes that needed to be relocated. And unfortunately, it's not just as simple as relocating those holes. You've got to rethink the entire course to make sure you have the proper flow from hole 1 to hole 18. So we brought in the original designer of this course on our team. He has assisted us with this to think through this process. This is not a final design. The disc golf course, unlike real golf, disc golf wants obstacles. They want to be in the trees, which is where I would play golf if I did. They want obstacles. They want to get their disc to fly through trees, and they want all that. And so to lay out a disc golf course is almost one of those things you have to go out and just walk it and see what feels right. And so we've got a conceptual layout. This is not a final design, but this is conceptually where we are at this point. This design may need to be finalized as we get into construction and get a little further along. But the course is each hole has 2 baskets. So it's in all reality a 36-hole course, much like it is now. That was one of the things the Disc Golf Club and the city has committed to about adding baskets through the years, and so they've really done a good job with that. So we're committed to maintaining that. The existing length of the course per hole, some of the holes have gotten shorter, some have gotten longer, but overall the entire length of the course is actually about 120 feet longer than what it currently is. As an average. So we've lost no length in the course. We've got some areas where the holes are coming into some areas where there are not currently large trees, but over time that will change as trees grow. So we feel really good about this. And we're actually just continuing conversations with local disc golf players and making sure they understand what's going on. There's unfortunately been some rumors floating around the past couple of days about this, and we're making sure we address those as we go. So,
Jeff, can you
Yes.
I saw the rumors or the posts on social media.
Mhm.
So what is happening? I think the post said that we're losing some of those holes for a period of time.
There
tell us what is
will
happening?
be a closure of the course at some point for some duration. We don't know what that is yet, but the only access to this golf course without getting on the Greenway Trail and walking to that the area north of the Greenway Trail is to come into Stuart Nelson Park and park your vehicle. Well, at some point, that's going to be an active construction site, and we can't allow the general public into an active construction site to park. Nobody's insurance will cover that, and we certainly don't want that. So at some point, there will be a closure to the disc golf course for a duration that is yet to be determined. Our commitment is to keep that as short as possible. So if there's ways we can sequence construction to allow that to stay open longer, and then get it done quicker and maybe and get the parking for it done. We just don't know some of those questions yet and how best to address that, but we're trying our best to make that happen. There is a rumor out there, and I was going to address it, that this will be down for 2 years. I don't even know where that even came from. The construction process for the entire park is planned for 1 year. So for a rumor to be floating around for double that, it's never even been discussed in a design team or owner meeting, so I don't know. We know how things work, and so.
Will it be, the whole course be closed or certain holes?
There may be a whole course closure at some point. Primarily the holes that are south of the Greenway Trail would be the ones that will be generally reconstructed at some level and reorganized. There will be some reorganization to the north side. But you know, in talking with the local disc golf club president yesterday, even, you know, if you want to play that north part of the course during the construction, you're going to have to park at Noble Park and walk the Greenway Trail to get to it, or ride your bike to it. You know, that's a possibility, I guess, and that may not be out of the realm of possibility for disc golf players. But we're committed to keeping it as open as we can for as long as we can, and getting it back open as quickly as we can. So
I'm sure people will improvise, those that want to play that bad.
they will, yeah. All right, site amenities, these are just showing some of some images of potential shade structures, examples of shade structures and shelters that we're planning. All of the bleacher seating around the perimeter of the ball fields will have a shade structure over them, so you won't be, unless you choose to sit out in the sun, you won't have to sit out in the sun if you're sitting in the bleachers. Colors have not been selected yet for these shade structures. We just got the approved color palette for the complex and the logo and everything within, I think, the week before Christmas, so we're still making some of those selections there to coordinate all that. But you know, as far as picnic shelters, shade structures over bleachers, and shade structures over picnic table seating areas for outdoor dining, there will be plenty of opportunities there for folks to get out of the sun. The maintenance area, this is obviously something that needs to be present in this facility. Maintenance will be ongoing. This is a maintenance area that's located off Metcalf Lane. If you go down Metcalf Lane now, there between next to Expressway Car Wash and go down to the end of that road, there's a double gate. The Sports Tourism Commission has actually purchased a couple of properties on that right side, right before you get to the Bluegrass Downs property. And one of those properties had 3 existing buildings on it that were identical. Those will be repurposed for maintenance facilities, a maintenance office and 2 storage buildings, and then there will be constructed a 4th larger maintenance building that has a taller ceiling for larger equipment to get in and out of and be worked on. The challenge with those 3 existing buildings there's about a 10-foot ceiling height in there, so larger equipment, backhoes, things like that, just could not be accommodated. But it was a great purchase and really helped us out with planning this maintenance compound, if you will. Bulk storage of materials and just employee parking and that sort of thing will take place in that area. And there's just a larger blow up of that. You see the 3 buildings, the 4th building here at the bottom, dumpsters, all deliveries for the site for bulk items and kind of the things like that will come in through this area. I think other than food deliveries will go directly to the concession stands themselves as needed. But this will be where all the deliveries and trash pickup will be in this one area. So that was the site. Are there any questions about the site in general? I know this is like drinking from a fire hose, and I do apologize for that. But I'd be happy to answer any questions about the site at this point.
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
At this point, there's no plans for pickleball courts, so.
There are
I
plans.
mean, other than there's space, but
yeah.
there's no plans.
They're actually, as you see here, in this area, this is a slice of the Bluegrass Downs property that comes out, and actually at the southern end of this is the New Roads gas station. That is for orientation purposes. We have planned for and designed and have construction documents for basketball courts, pickleball courts, and associated parking, and a shelter with restrooms. We have began to create a list of alternate bids that could be included in this project, and those are alternate bids 1 and 2, basketball courts being 1 and pickleball courts and associated parking being 2. So we're hopeful that those will be included when the bids come in, and we can turn that circuit on and roll with that. But we wanted to at least provide some opportunity to make some decisions in the future about it. So, but they are being planned. They have been designed and detailed as if they are happening when this goes out to bid. So. Thank you. I'm glad you asked that because because they're alternate bids, I kind of glossed over them, but.
That's smart.
All right. Anything else on the site? Okay. There are 10 buildings on this site. We have numbered them 1 through 10, number 1 being the grandstand, and so I'm just going to go in order, give you kind of an orientation of where it is, and then a floor plan, just so you kind of understand what's happening in this. The grandstand is a unique building on this site. I think it's going to differentiate this complex from any others in the nation, honestly. But with that comes challenges. It was built in 1985, and it does not currently meet building code how it is, and so we've had to make some retrofits to that. We've had to add some additional toilets and restroom fixtures, retrofit and rebuild some kitchen areas that work for what is needed today. And make it accessible. It's not accessible on the upper level at this point, and so we wanted to provide some of those opportunities for folks with mobility challenges to be able to get to that upper level and enjoy games from the bleachers there. In this building are being planned 2 commercial kitchens for concessions. The one on the left side of your screen here is going to be more of a concessions type stand. The one on the right side will be more for food prep for an indoor dining area. Not a restaurant style. It'll be kind of a grab and go, but you'll have indoor dining where you can get your food and go sit at a table inside in air conditioning and enjoy that for a break. We've got new restrooms. We've got a retail facility here in the middle on this side where Paducah Sports Park gear will be available, hats, water bottles, and the such. We've got an administrative space here in the middle, which will be kind of the hub of SFC's management operations, executive director, finance director, additional staff, conference room. We do have an elevator that's being planned for the interior space here to go from this enclosed concourse area down below up to the outdoor level of the upper level of the bleachers. And then some additional restrooms and family restrooms on this side near the indoor dining. One of the things that I failed to mention last night, but we want to start when folks enter this grandstand. We want to start telling the history of this complex when they first get into it. We want to start telling the history of this was a horse racing track, and with quintessential Kentucky, with horse racing, but also start to tell the story of Stuart Nelson Park. And so we've created some focal points within this facility where we can start to do that. So we're not just waiting till folks get over to Stuart Nelson Park to learn about that. They can start to learn about the history over here as well. So we want to make those connections and unify the site as much as we can in these 2 very unique properties. Upper level of the grandstand will just be outdoor seating as it currently is on this far left side, with some addition. You see the accessible seating up here on the top. Elevator will exit under roof but outside. It was just the best configuration we could come up with. And then a fully enclosed indoor dining area that'll be terraced, and there'll be some additional, accessible seating in that as well. So imagine sitting there at your table, eating your food in your air conditioning, which is a bonus, watching your kid or grandkid or just some random kid play ball on the championship field. It's just a very unique setting that I just don't know exists anywhere else at any other sports park. And so this will really set us apart, we think. Building number 2 is a very small existing building that we're planning to renovate for an officials lounge. This will be where our game officials or the game officials can come and change before or after the game, relax. And there's a couple of restrooms, some dressing rooms, and just a common space where they can sit and just.
Get away from their bad calls.
I wasn't gonna say it because everybody knows that refs are perfect. So anyway, so that's just a repurposing of an existing building. We thought was a good move for that. Building 3 is a concession and restroom building in the middle of the quad fields. This will provide some additional concession and restroom capacity on this side of the complex. The building will have a full commercial kitchen, concession area, plenty of restroom fixtures. There are, I think, looks like 9 or 10 toilets in the women's restroom, and then 4 toilets and 5 urinals on the men's side with, the required sink counts and changing tables. We've got a family restroom in here. We've got a first aid room that can be used for just some initial, if somebody twists an ankle or scrapes their leg, there will be no medical procedures performed here, no x-rays, no stitches, anything like that. SFC wants to get some initial treatment and then get them off site to get appropriate medical care if need be. These buildings will have a flat roof. And that's by design so that we can get all the equipment, mechanical equipment, everything off the ground and get it on the roof. And that frees up all the space around the building. There's no obstacles. There's nothing for kids to climb on and jump off of and get, break for maintenance purposes. And then we've got an internal roof access hatch that'll be secure so that maintenance can happen on that equipment without kids climbing ladders and all that. So I'm not anti-kid, I promise.
It's a question on the restrooms.
Yes, sir.
You go to so many places and the restrooms the same size for men and women.
Mhm.
Yet you got women lined up to use their facility. I assume they need more fixtures than what the men's facility did. I noticed in this plan, it looks like they're same amount of fixtures for men, same amount for women. Is there some sort of rule of thumb or a law or something? 'Cause
Yeah,
it just seems.
Yeah, the Kentucky Plumbing Code dictates fixture counts. So they've got a chart and they'll classify per use. And so you've got an assembly use, and there's 5 different assembly uses. There's a business use, a mercantile use, and based on the calculated occupant load of that use, they have a chart that you break down and see how many fixtures, how many toilets you need for women, how many toilets you need for men, how many urinals you need for men, how many sinks you need, how many service or mop sinks you need, water, drinking fountains. And so all of that is dictated by code. With this outdoor facility, it was a little harder to calculate that because it's outdoors. But what we tried to do for these satellite restroom buildings was take a 1-hour period, look at a maximum number of people that would potentially be there based on programming and calculate it like that. So there are, we feel like we're really safe on this. This building is actually, with its proximity to the grandstand, you've actually got the availability for a lot more restrooms within 150, 200 feet of this building. So great question. We struggled with that for a couple of weeks, how best to calculate that, and working with the engineers at Markham Engineering from the plumbing side. We feel like we're at a really good spot as far as fixture counts. So. This building, this is the concession and restroom building at Stuart Nelson Park. This will be nearly an identical floor plan to what we just saw. The only difference is here, and it's oriented differently just because that's how it's oriented on the site. This building is 6 feet longer because it's got more restroom facilities in it. And so we knew the distance from the grandstand over here would require a few more restroom facilities, but the number of people on this side would be a little less. And so that's how we calculated those numbers. And actually, if I remember correctly, the fixture counts were nearly the same, and we added additional restroom fixtures over here for convenience. That's how that worked. And then the upper floor, we did add an upper floor to this building for a portion of it for an officials lounge on this side of the park. We didn't have anything over here for the officials on this side, so we added that. Same program, restrooms, dressing rooms, and then a lounge area where they can go and get away from the chaos of the day. Buildings 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the maintenance buildings, and I'm just going to show you that this is the maintenance office, a couple of offices, conference room, break room, and some restrooms that can be used by the maintenance staff through the day and through the weekends as they're out there. Buildings 6 and 7 are this exact footprint, but there's no walls inside. It's just storage for equipment and items that they would use for the park maintenance and operations. And then building 8 is a maintenance shop. This is the new building. This will have a taller ceiling. This will have 14-foot-high overhead doors and a 16-foot-high ceiling for larger equipment. This will be the workshop area, tool storage, compressors, rack storage on this north side of the floor plan here for things that can be stored on shelves and racks. And this was something that was SFC really was helpful through all of these plans that we've developed and telling us what they need, what they don't need, and how this best will work for them and the complex. Building 9 is the community shelter up near the playground and the disc golf course. I just wanted to kind of loop back to this. This will show you the restroom facilities that are there. So not just a single use restroom. This is a restroom where multiple people can go in at one time and use it. There'll be stalls and all that. So it's a little nicer than even what we had originally thought about when we wanted to put restrooms over here. And then a covered, probably 30-foot by 40-foot covered picnic area there for a shelter. So. Building 10, and I don't have it on here. That's the shelter at the pickleball courts. It's about 25 feet square with 2 single-use restrooms in it. And so we've got that planned and detailed out, and that'll be included with the alternate bids there for that area. So, any questions on the buildings before I get to probably what you really want to see? So these are just some renderings that we have completed that show a picture of what this would look like. This is the entry area coming across from Downs Drive at 32nd Street, the one on the left here. There's going to be a stormwater detention that will be a wet stormwater detention, so we'll have water in it all the time. And there'll be a bridge that'll go across that as you enter the facility. It's kind of the grand entrance. Then you'll be encountered as you kind of see the very top of the grandstand there in the distance. And to keep in mind, you see a lot of trees here. We're planning for a lot of trees, but they're not all going to be this big at the beginning. So don't get too excited or disappointed when you see smaller trees out there. But this is kind of a look into the future with more mature trees as they grow. The right side of the image here is just an image of the Championship Plaza there in front of the grandstand. And you just see the opportunities there for gathering, seat walls, arbors, shade structures, landscaping, and then just those photo opportunities. And this will be a little further developed now that we have a logo and a brand identity now that SFC has worked on. This may change a little bit as we finalize this. This is an image of the vendor court to the west of the grandstand. So as you see here, right there is that's the small officials building number 2, and then the west end of the grandstand. And so you just see the picnic shelters and potential for placement of the 10 by 10 pop-up vendor tents as needed. You see the view out onto the championship field here with the bleachers, dugouts. we're planning for, especially at this field, a lot more brick around the backstop and the bleachers for just a layer of to step up the appeal and the aesthetic of that championship field. We've got brick around the backstops of the others as well, but we really want to go kind of a step ahead on this one and really make this nice because this is the signature piece of this facility. You see the backstop here. This is another view of the kind of sitting on the first base side of the championship field. We're using tension net backstops instead of chain link fencing. This provides more visibility for the games from the spectators, and I think provides a better connection. We saw these at some of the facilities we've toured, and just felt like it was a great look. And so we carried that over to this facility as well. And these backstops, the tension netting will be at every backstop on every field throughout the complex. So anywhere there's an opportunity for a baseball field to be, that's where these backstops will be. Again, looking down the third base side of the championship field out toward the north, toward the batting cages that are out there, and then the greenway trail on beyond that. Again, you just see some of the size of the sidewalks, the circulation areas for pedestrians and people to gather and meet up after games and before games. This is looking down the front of the grandstand there on the first base side of the championship field. One of the things we did plan is for the ability to host concerts here. That was something that I think Judge Clymer brought up, as an idea. And so we did make some accommodations electrically with some conduits and boxes in the field and outside of this field for plug-ins, for auxiliary power and all of that for any concerts that could be held here. Now, concerts won't be very big. The grandstand seats about 900 to 1,000 people, so we're not talking massive shows. But, nonetheless, there's an opportunity there for additional programming. Again, just another shot looking from that vendor court out toward the championship field. This image is a gateway structure that is at the Stuart Nelson Park side of things. So this is as you're coming out of the parking lot on Stuart Nelson side and entering the complex of fields there. This is what you will pass through. This will be the only way in for spectators and the only way out for spectators. And so we wanted to make this a signature piece where it's very recognizable about where you need to go. It's a wayfinding tool as you leave your vehicle in the parking lot and make your way to the fields. And then we'll have this replicated on the west end of the baseball diamonds as well. So you'll have another entry point there from that parking lot that'll be identical to this. Naming and color schemes are still, how the fields are labeled and designated is still under advisement with SFC, how they best want to do that. So if it's a numbering system or a color and number system, so that folks can find their way to the fields that they're supposed to play on. This is an image of you can see that gateway structure on the left. So this is looking from the north back south. You see the single use or the single rectangular field here on the right side of the screen, the concession building there in the middle, and then all the shade and amenities there in that zone. Just at the top of the image, you start to catch a glimpse of the two larger pod fields, as we call them. But you see the shade structures over the bleachers. This is a view of that shaded structure area in front of the concession stand, picnic shelters. You catch a glimpse of the playground there in the background, and here's just another view looking back east from this back corner of this complex area, back east toward the parking lot. You see the concession stand there, shelters and shade structures, and a playground in this area too that is contained within this rectangular field zone. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Be more than happy. I think Jim's going to come back and make a few final statements, and then we'll both be available to answer any questions you have after that.
Thank you, Jeff. And Commissioner Smith, just so you know, if you're at a complex like this and there's a long line for the women's bathroom, it's usually my daughter and her friends. Apparently, women's bathroom is the ideal spot to do TikTok videos. So, I mean, that's usually the reason.
I'm too old to understand.
I don't understand it either, but that's apparently where they like to do all their TikTok videos, or I guess the mirrors or something. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, so. Well, thank you again, Jeff. And, well, the SFC design team and the Sports Tourism Commission designed the Paducah Sports Park to have an estimated economic impact in Paducah and McCracken County of approximately $131 million over the first 5 years. Paducah Sports Park will host approximately 42 tournaments a year and be open to local sports teams 52 weeks a year. As Jeff showed in the presentation, there's not a stone we didn't uncover to try to, help some kids out. So you got soccer from 6-year-old all the way up to 19, which is college. You got softball, you got baseball, you got football, you got rugby, you got lacrosse. You've even got long cross-country running with the ability to work in with the Greenway Trail, disc golf. Again, we met, and Jeff's team did, and I met in several of them, just about everybody we could that has can be impacted by this sports park. So we think it's going to be just huge for the community. Some of our original goals were to provide high-quality athletic experience for the local community, become a regional destination for athletic tournament play, and further develop the unique brand and identity of Paducah and McCracken County. STC is confident that the submitted design plans meet the desired goals of the community. The local community will have a daily access to the park, and our kids will have a high-quality experience. The park will be a regional destination for tournament play, and tournament managers and players will want to return here. A high-quality experience will provide economic impact for decades to come. The Paducah Sports Park will provide a unique brand that will differentiate us from a competitive market. The park will build trust and loyalty from our customers and have recognition and recall. The current opinion of cost for Paducah Sports Park is $65 million. This opinion of cost provided by sports facility companies with some assistance from the design team. True costs will not be known until the bids are received. After the bids have been received, the design team, SFC, will evaluate the bids and make appropriate recommendations on how to proceed, all the while making sure that we have a high-quality facility that meets our stated project goals that we share with the commission, as well as meeting the business model. Thank you, guys, and like Jeff said, any questions we'll be glad to answer. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
I think, Darren, I think you were going to kind of walk us through next steps, what our responsibility is as a commission and how it relates to the documents and kind of where we are.
Yeah. So Mayor, Commission, and our community members, the ILA agreement that's been referenced several times tonight had some points of kind of go, no-go decision-making for both the City Commission, the Fiscal Court, and Sports Tourism Commission. Part of that process right now is that on Monday afternoon, the Sports Commission approved the proposal of the plans. Then the next step was their recommendation or presentation last night to the Fiscal Court and then tonight to this body. Our next step is that both bodies have 20 days to take in the information that you've heard tonight, what Fiscal Court heard last night. Look at if you want to dive real deep into the documents, we have that. Be able to get in and look into those. But you have 20 days for the parties to then agree to the next step, and that would be the release of the RFP. And as you heard tonight, the opinion of cost of $65 million is just that. It is a best guess estimate based on market conditions, based on proposed design, but the true cost won't be known until the RFPs come in. If both bodies cannot agree to move to that next step within that 20-day period. And what we're looking at is we've got it tentatively scheduled for your next commission meeting for that action to be taken. The Fiscal Court has it tentatively scheduled for their next Fiscal Court meeting, which is both parties in 2 weeks. If you both cannot come to an agreement of moving forward at that time, then the ILA called for an additional time period of an additional 40 days for both bodies and the Sports Tourism Commission to walk through what you really want to see before the RFP is released. And so basically, as you sit here tonight, You have a 20-day anticipation of an action being taken at the next commission meeting. Fiscal court, same way. If you both, one or both of you can't come to an agreement to move forward with the proposal as you've heard tonight, then you have another 40 days for revised construction plans. If at that time the revised construction plans are not approved by all parties within that 60 days, the date on which the original plans were presented, the agreement would be terminated unless the parties to agree to an extension of the termination date. And that is laid out in your ILA that the parties all agreed to. So, yeah, no action tonight. The next point of action and determination is you take the next couple of weeks to think about, massage, ask questions as you've had time to dig into it. Get a conversation going with the fiscal court to see where they are. And if both parties are ready to move forward with the RFP, you would both take that action at your next meetings, and then they would proceed to issue the RFPs.
And after the RFP is issued, and so we have an estimate of cost tonight of $65 million, and if it comes in at $80 million or, something that we had not anticipated, what are the actions at that point?
So the bids and the contract part, and I'll read it so I don't misstate what was in the ILA. Upon the parties' approval of the construction plans as originally presented or revised, the Sports Commission will put the construction work out for bids. The Sports Commission will work with the design team, Sports Facilities Company, and the working group to evaluate all the bids received and develop an estimated total of the development cost for construction. Sports Commission may there formally recommend to the city or county a package of the best evaluated bids and associated contracts for the estimated total cost. And then the city and the county and the respective would work through the completion date and working to continue, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong page, would work towards the purchase or acquisition forwarding on that aspect. So you have that 20 days, that 60 days RFP goes out whenever you release that. Then from the receipt of the recommendation, based on that group, you'd have another 20 days to estimate and approve or disapprove from that. And so in the ILA, it says if the estimated total cost, which it is greater than the original when you had, which was $42.5 million estimated, the city and the county pledge to approve the package or recommended bids of the construction contracts unless there are material concerns about the bidder, the amount of one or more bids, or the quality or the capability. And so you have an out there, if they come in, if you have a material concern about the way the proposal or the recommendation comes back after the bids are received, then you have a discussion and then to whether approve based on the estimated total cost at that time.
Yeah, so my question is, I'm just trying, so it's considerably higher than what we first estimated. We all expected, that to be higher, based upon market conditions. But if it comes in, once we go out to bid and we get a second surprise, what are our pathways for adjusting and doing something at that point?
That's where you would work with the county to determine what the next best step would be in relationship of moving forward or not.
Okay. So there's going to be there'll be another vote, I guess, is what I would say.
There will be a recommendation from if move forward, RFPs have been let, then the Sports Tourism Commission will bring back both parties a recommendation at that time, and then you would have a vote on that recommendation.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay. Thank you, Jim, for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, we're going to move on to the agenda. We're an hour and 25 minutes into this, so we get to the agenda. So we'll begin with the consent agenda, and items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. And the city clerk will read the items recommended for approval unless any commissioner would like an item removed for separate discussion. So I'll ask the city clerk to please read the items recommended for approval.
Approve minutes for the December 11th and December 12th, 2023 special called meetings of the Board of Commissioners. Receive and file documents. Appointment of Lee Emmons to the Paducah Board of Ethics to replace Corbin Snarden, who resigned. Said terms shall expire February 10th, 2027. Reappointment of Robert L. Wade to the Civil Service Commission. Said term shall expire December 31st, 2026. Appointment of Dan Knowles to the Berkeley Regional Airport Authority Board to replace Jonas Niehoff, whose term has expired. Said term shall expire December 31st, 2027. Appointment of David Wilkins to the Main Street Board to replace Whitney Wallace, who resigned. Said term shall expire August 22nd, 2025. Personnel actions, a municipal order accepting the proposal of Innovation Sports Servicing and authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement in the amount of $51,425 for the purchase and installation of pour-in-place rubber servicing and subgrade material for Kyler Park. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Pyro Shows in the amount of $39,975 to provide fireworks for the city's Independence Day celebration. A municipal order accepting the bid of Harper Construction LLC for the 2024 through 2025 City of Paducah Concrete Program and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same.
So moved.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. So the next item on the agenda is a resolution supporting the Murray State School of Veterinary Medicine, a new school of veterinary medicine. And I'll ask the city clerk to read the resolution.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution Supporting the Murray State University Hudson School of Agriculture in the Efforts to Create a School of Veterinary Medicine."
So moved.
Second?
So let's discuss it for just a moment. There's a move. I talked with the president of Murray State at length about this and the process that they're going through. They're pretty much living up in Frankfurt these days, working with the legislature, trying to come up with $90 million was the estimated number. 89, okay. Thank you, Murray State grad. So I guarantee you it'll be 90 by the time it's over with, though.
89 for now.
At any rate, they're looking for money from the state legislature. So when you think about veterinary medicine, you think about, I don't know, I mean, most of us have pets. Not all of us, but most of us have pets, and we go to vets, and most of our vets around here go to the University of Auburn or Auburn University. And there's really no vet schools. There's no vet school in the state of Kentucky. And you think about Lexington and the large animal needs that they have in Lexington. And, I'm not sure, why this hasn't gotten started somewhere else, but there is a real need for an additional, vet school in our area. It's kind of the way I see it. So it's a big opportunity, to educate doctors of veterinary medicine much closer to us and make the services that are available in our area even more available. So any comments, concerns from any of the commissioners?
I agree that there need to be more graduates. It's hard to get a vet. I tried to make an appointment for my dog in about 2 weeks before you could
It's crazy.
take your dog in. So.
And that's your dog. I had a friend that had a cow go down. He didn't know exactly where he's going to take it. He said there's only 26 large animal vets in the state, and he said, think about how many of those are in Lexington.
I bet, yeah.
26 in the state.
That's interesting.
I've seen several presentations on it, and I know we need it. I grew up on a dairy farm. We had the cattle, and
There you go.
even then, years ago, it was hard to find a large animal veterinarian, and this will focus on that. It's a whole new model that for vet school that's being utilized in some of the others across the country. It does keep slots open that Kentucky will have for students that want to go to Auburn, but it opens up a whole new market for veterinary school students, and we desperately need it. Murray State has the land on their farm in Callaway County. They really have planned it out. I think it was 50 years ago they also tried this, and so it's come back up. And they're really pushing for it, and I think that we absolutely 100% should support the efforts of Murray State. We have the Paducah campus here, everything that we can do to help promote Murray State. In general, their regional campuses and their main campus, and help for a veterinary school is something that we should be doing.
Yeah, my background is in pharmaceutical distribution, and, there's some crossover between vets and human, in pharmacy, and one of the things that happened about, I guess, 15, 20 years ago, there became this acute shortage of pharmacists. And, you had pharmacists coming out of pharmacy school, people like Walgreens and CVS going to Mercedes. And, but what happened, is that there were new pharmacy schools that began to spring up. And eventually, over time, the supply and demand evened out. So I think this is a real opportunity, and hopefully our legislature will see their way to support this. Could be a real big plus for the area. So, any more discussion? Anybody? Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. We have two ordinances to adopt tonight. The first one, I'll ask the city clerk. We've already been through these a couple of weeks ago, so I'll ask her to read them again.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance extending the boundary of the City of Paducah, Kentucky by annexing certain property lying adjacent to the corporate limits of the City of Paducah and accurately defining the boundary of said property to be included within said corporate limits. This ordinance is summarized as follows: finalizing the annexation of a tract of property adjacent to the present city limits located at 3110 New Holt Road, 3112 New Holt Road, 5065 Concord Avenue, and 5075 Concord Avenue, containing 2.57 acres more or less.
So moved.
Second. I'll say again, it's city-owned property. Honestly, we should have done it years ago, but let's do it now. We own the property.
Well, you were a commissioner.
I know.
No, I totally agree, so.
I agree. I don't follow every single step of what we're doing, but I do remember when we purchased a property for Holt Road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we should do it.
Okay, call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Now it's the city clerk to read the second ordinance.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a sanitary sewer easement between the City of Paducah, Kentucky and Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency for an area located north of 7th Street and west of Flournoy Street, owned by the City of Paducah, in order to connect the treatment chain from a previously constructed diversion and pumping station through the flood wall and reconnecting to the existing effluent piping. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the mayor to execute a sanitary sewer easement between the City of Paducah and Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency for and in consideration of $1 for an area located north of 7th Street and west of Flournoy Street. The permanent easement required is approximately 20,957 square feet, or 0.481 acres.
So moved.
Second.
So we had John here 2 weeks ago to explain this. We've kind of been through it. The easement that we're looking to work with them on. We're very supportive of JSA. Any questions or concerns from anybody? Okay. I'll ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry to keep you this long.
See you, John.
And we have one ordinance to introduce tonight, and I'll ask the city clerk, please read it, and then we'll get an explanation.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance approving the final report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the proposed final subdivision for property located at 3315 Pines Road, authorizing the mayor to execute the final plat of subdivision for the Woodland Property on Pines LLC, accepting the irrevocable letter of credit in an amount of $350,000 as surety for the completion of the public improvements, accepting the dedication of the public right-of-way and easements as shown on the said final plat, and authorizing the mayor to subscribe a certificate of approval on the plat. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the final report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the proposed final subdivision for the property known as Woodland Property on Pines LLC subdivision, and accepts the dedication of the public right-of-way and public utility easements shown on the plat. Further, the city hereby accepts the irrevocable letter of credit number 402 in the amount of $350,000 for surety of the completion of the streets, curb, gutters, stormwater management, and right-of-way in the development that meets the minimum standard required by the City of Paducah Engineering Department pursuant to the City of Paducah Code of Ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Melanie, tell us about this, and so we understand what we're doing.
All right. Good morning. It feels like it should be morning.
It hadn't been that long.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Clerk. So I've asked Lindsay to put up the actual plat that we're looking at here. So this is a property that is being developed. There is 16 lots that they're developing. The intent is to build townhomes, so duplexes, but townhomes, and sell each individual side of the townhome. I spoke with the developer today, so that's their current intent with the properties, is to sell that.
Sell the individual townhomes? Okay.
So each side would be a townhome.
And these are located,
Yep, right off of Pines Road. Lindsay, will you pull up the GIS on that? Makes it easy.
Right by the railroad track?
Yes.
River Oaks.
Yes, by River Oaks. Yeah, there's the railroad, this is Pines
Gotcha.
Road, this is River Oaks subdivision, so it's this big
Yeah.
property here. So they're planning to do this front section here is what's being developed. There is a section over here that's for future development that they don't have a plan for, they don't have it plotted out and all of that.
Explain the $350,000 to us.
$350,000 is our surety, so they have to build the roads. There is, let's go back to the plat, sorry. I guess I should do that. Okay, so they'll build a road that connects to Pines Road here, called Violet Court, and then there's Rucker Avenue that comes down through here, so they will connect there. So they have to build the road, they have to build the curb and gutter, the stormwater sewer system, and the sidewalks. This will have sidewalks.
And to city specifications?
To the city specifications, and if they do that, then afterwards, we will accept those into our system, and we will maintain the roadway.
Gotcha.
They get their bond back.
And then they get, we release the letter of credit back to them, yes.
And the way we manage that is as they are building, we're out
Doing inspections,
inspecting
making
and,
sure that what they're doing is correct. That's one of the things that our department does. We go out and inspect. And as they, they hope to do this quickly, so hopefully it'll only be 1 year and we'll release their bond. But if it goes into 2 years, we kind of estimate how much money they've spent. They'll give us some receipts and we may reduce the level of their bond for the second year.
I see.
As we can kind of,
Assuming that they're meeting our standards for the specifications and,
yes.
okay. And does that involve sidewalks?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there will be sidewalks on both sides of the road on Violet Court.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
it's
sidewalks
all-
are very important.
Yeah, and it's all underground utilities, so it'll be a nice subdivision. They're really trying to do a good job. And there are no through roads, so it'll be a dead end because the road on the other side, Roel, is a private road.
Do we have any idea what the price range on these townhomes are?
Less than 65 million. No,
I know you said this, but these are townhomes on each lot.
Yeah, so
How
like
many
there's 16 lots, so you'll have 32 townhomes.
Okay.
There'll be 2 per lot.
Like a
They'll-
duplex on each one.
Yes,
You're
basically
They're
a
selling each
duplex.
side.
Yeah.
And they're selling each side.
And then they could, but they don't intend to rent. They're going to sell them, and then the people who buy them could rent them or live there.
Or live there, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been through planning, so all of the zoning requirements have been met, that it's a medium-density residential, so they can do townhomes in that.
Appreciate their investment in Paducah.
Yes, yes. Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
that's it. Thanks,
Thank you
thanks
very
for
much.
being here.
No
Appreciate it.
problem.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a discussion of solid waste rates. So this is, we've discussed this actually a couple of times, and I'll set the stage a little bit if I can, because I've been real involved in this with the city manager and with Chris, our Director of Public Works. So as a background, we have not raised solid waste rates at all since 2009. And so we got to the point where we really had to get, we had to make a decision of some type. So we've looked at, a couple of things along the way, and one of the things that that I feel would be beneficial for the city is to make available to more people at a lower cost curbside recycling. Those who really desire to recycle curbside. And so that has all been talked about and, as a part of this discussion, and I will turn it over to you at this point.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I'm handing the ball to you.
Thank you. It's a good handoff. Commissioners, city clerk, city manager, good evening. I will not keep you long. We had talked previously in an earlier presentation about the amount the city tax bill, or excuse me, the city solid waste bill would have to go to meet the current needs. And I just want to explain for something. The City of Paducah Solid Waste Division of Public Works is ran as an enterprise fund, which means for all intended purposes, we run it like a business as far as efficiency, booking, depreciation and things like that. Of course, depreciation is on paper, but we do it that way. And the point of the Solid Waste Department division is to keep the city as clean as possible and just bring in enough revenue to continue doing what we're doing and replace equipment as needed. As the mayor mentioned, we have not increased rates since 2009. With that said, I informed you previously that we need to get to around $26.50 to be comfortable with the expenses versus the revenue. After doing going back to 2009 and projecting if we had a CPI back then and bring it forward to today, we would already be where we need to be and we wouldn't be having this conversation. And it would have been easier year by year. The only thing that I can say to make me feel better is that the citizens, and including myself, I live in the city of Paducah, we've received a break since 2009. We know costs go up every year or have gone up every year, but we were able to, through efficiency and previous year's retainage, go at that rate. We're just getting to the point that if we don't do something now, we're going to be dipping into the pockets of the general fund, which we do not want to do. With that said, what I'd like to do is just show you Lindsay, you got me set up here and I went the wrong way. I'm not sure how to do that.
You go forward or this one?
Yes. Oh, I just tell you. Okay, excuse me.
You're fine. You can do it or
Thought I
I can
had
do it.
control.
Either way.
You have control. This is just a quick slide to remind you of where we are currently in comparison to the other cities where they are. And this is surrounding areas, which is a wide range depending on where you live. If you call to get a discount from the private sector, they're allowed to do many things that we're not when it comes to billing. But Bowling Green, even with an increase, would be comparable to Madisonville. And I won't mention which city, but a couple of these cities, they're currently in the process of reviewing their rates. They anticipate an increase in their rates as well. With that said, forward, please. We have two options. We know we need to get to $26.50 for residential, and this is the increase. This is a lot of information, but you have a copy of it there to digest now and later. $26.50, there's two ways to get there. The mayor had mentioned we'd like to increase recycling, curbside recycling. We think we can do that with this plan, and when we're through with the increase or with the adjustments, the recycling fee would automatically be included in the solid waste charge. So if we get to $26.50, what we have to do is we could do it all in 1 year, which would mean the refuse charge would go to $26.50, the recycling fee would come down, which would be a -3, and you'd be at $26.50. Or we could do that, I would suggest no more than going out 2 years, which would, forward please, look more like this. The first year, which we consider July 1st of this year when these changes would take effect, we would go up to $22.50 total. That would be $21 for your solid waste, and if you choose to recycle, it would be $1.50. The following year, which would be July of 25, the $1.50 would disappear, and the total bill would go up to $26.50. This will allow us to absorb the recycling cost into the refuse bill, the trash bill, and we would then be on track with the CPI to be where we need to be and continue to stay where we should be as far as fees go. Don't let it deter you when we talk about the CPI. There's cases and times when the CPI for the solid waste industry, which is different than the normal consumer index, we would use the one for solid waste industry. There's times that it does increase year over year, and there's times that it would stay flat. If it stayed flat, we could choose, of course, not to implement an increase for that year, and that's what I think would be the best plan for the city as far as the charges and expenses go. I know it's a lot of information on this sheet, and just like when I was in 11th grade in my English class, you practice all week for this speech you're going to give. And when you get up here, it doesn't go anything like you planned.
You're doing great. Don't worry about it. I think one of the more important points really is that, the requirement, for us to get to where we need to be is really to go to $26.50. So we're underwater, at this point with our trash collection. But I think that it made some sense in talking about it is to do that over a couple of years rather than do it all at one time.
I agree.
Because, we know there's people out there on fixed incomes. We know that this is going to affect people. We understand. We have to get there. But by doing it more gradually than all at one time gives folks a chance to adjust. And it also, I think our intent is to make recycling, curbside recycling, part of the fee. But if we were to do that all at once and everybody would start recycling, then, Chris and his staff would not be able to really make that adjustment. So this allows us to adjust over time and see how citizens are going to accept curbside recycling.
Is $26.50 where we need to be in 2 years, or is that a bigger number?
That, of course, will be a bigger number as time goes on, but we will be closer to where we need to be, and I think it will be, it won't be that big of a difference that it'll matter. No, I'm glad you asked that question.
And the other thing is, and of course, the next step is an ordinance, right?
So actually, rates can be done by municipal order.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
tonight, it's a discussion item. We take your feedback after tonight, put together a municipal order based on that feedback at the next commission meeting if you're ready to move forward with it. But it would just be, based on the way our setup is, it's just required as a municipal order.
So the recommendation is going to come that we, in July 1st of 2025, when we get to the full 2650, is that we would implement a cost of living, or the CPI from there, so that we wouldn't be in this situation
Yes, sir.
Right.
for future commissions.
That's correct.
Down the road, which is something that we all wish we would have done, somebody would have done before, but
Yes, sir.
we didn't get
Let me
there,
ask
so.
you, on these extra refuse rollouts, just $9, so someone, say next year's paying $21, and you can get an extra rollout for $9?
Yes, yes.
Is that going up as well?
Well,
or is that-
yes, it's currently 8, I believe.
It just seems like that needs to be in lockstep with the rest of it, because it's not like there's a economy of scale, or the truck still has to be there. We still have the investment in the rollout. So
Right, okay, so
would
you're,
just-
I'm sorry, let me repeat that so I can understand what you're saying. Are you thinking that if you have 2 rollouts, your fee should be double what 1 rollout is?
Not exactly double, but it seems like $9 is really, that needs to, whatever, if it's $8 now, I think that the fee should rise commensurately with the first one. So if the fee's going up an extra 20%, I think the extra.
So the
roll-off
percentage
should be
difference
better.
between
Right.
1650 and.
You went up 10% on the.
Right, if
On
the
the
additional rollout was 8.
additional, and you're going up
Right,
30% on the other.
We would be short around 60 cents on that increase currently. That's,
It just seems like it'd make it easier to just be consistent.
yeah, and we know and understand, it should be cheaper, it won't be double, because a great deal of the expense is getting there.
Yeah.
With the travel, and then once you're there, the action, and then you have to think about tonnage, the additional tonnage for 2 rollouts, so.
So Chris, how many people get 2 rollouts? Do you know?
It's several. I have those exact numbers and would be more than happy to get the statistics of how many have 1, 2, 3. There's some that have 4 or 5.
If you have two and you're only basically using one, can you call and have the other one
Picked up.
Yeah.
Oh,
picked
yeah.
up and
You have
turned
to
in?
request.
Yes.
Okay.
But it won't be there when you need 2. 'Cause- So I know that.
But I think,
The day
you know,
after Christmas.
when you probably had 2, and then when you started recycling, you sign up for recycling, and so it lessened your trash in 1, so you may not really need the 2.
Yes.
That's true.
Anymore.
That's true.
That's true. And I would like to also add that with this, I've been talking with Pam Spencer, and the mayor has asked us to do this, and the city manager has directed us to, we need to come up with a plan to educate the citizens, extensive plan to get the information out, educate the citizens on recycling,
Yeah.
the trash service, because I recycle at home, I do curbside recycling, and there are many plastics that you can't recycle. But with that said, my trash in the trash can has probably been cut more than half of what it normally is. So recycling is more expensive for the city to process and dispose of properly. But again, I have to recycle.
It's a bargain, really.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Now, we do still offer the drop-off center, if you want to take it over there. I would like to, with this over time, have as many curbside customers as possible. We just need to increase that number and increase the feel of making curbside just a habit, a normal thing that you do. So-
Chris, do we have anybody that has 2 recycling?
Yes, sir, we do.
What do we charge them 2 times?
It's double.
It's just
double.
$6, right?
ma'am.
So really, it's
It's
much
still a
less
good
to
deal.
have the second recycle can. than it is to have the second.
Which
Trash
brings up another issue at times, and that is there's a lot of things that show up in the recycling cans
sure.
at times.
I mean, we
that-
argue about it
that
all
are
the
not-
time. Like,
That are
can't
not
get rid of it.
eligible. So this education component is very important.
Critical.
And so I've taken it on myself to educate myself with recycling because there are many packages that have the recycling emblem on them and that say, please recycle, although that type of material is not accepted here. I just want to bring to your attention that the contract for the transfer service that we have currently expires in 2026, and it would be an opportunity for us to expand what we accept if possible and work out some other things with the recycling.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I think while the increases may not seem like a great deal for the average person, I appreciate the fact that you all have taken into consideration to gradually move up, because there are people who wear $1.50.
Right.
Well,
Might
we
be a
understand
big deal.
if we're going up, everything else is going up. There's things on utility bills that are going to go up. There's
Right.
things with JSA that may go up. So we really want to keep costs.
Well, I appreciate your
as a
consideration, taking
minimum.
that into consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith's suggestion about looking at that, the price on that second can, I like that idea. Is there any objection to, to kind of taking the second can and percentage-wise, in terms of percentage increase, to track it to the first one?
Yeah.
And it's
So-
$9 now.
Yeah, so it will go up to,
So if, just for my understanding, and so as we get prepared to bring something forward for your action, under a 2-year rate adjustment of what we've talked about, the phased-in approach, it's year 1, it would be 25% increase, and year 2 would be 25% increase. So are you saying that we would still have a 2-year increase of 25% each year on the additional rollouts, or go
Yes.
all in on the first year of the increase for the
I'd
additional
say
roads?
follow the same path.
Okay,
that you-
all right.
yeah, I
So-
agree.
So you didn't suggest raising that price. Y'all are suggesting raising the price of the second can?
That's right.
But is
Well,
there any way?
we did raise, I mean, right
We
now.
raised it $1.
Okay.
We did raise it, we just didn't raise it incrementally.
Not-
compared
It's not
the
compared to the
rest.
25% increase. And so it was raised, what,
If we think we can be whole, keeping it, I mean, the other thing we could do is if we didn't raise the price of the second can, or if we were raising the prices of the second can or the first can or whatever, is it possible to lower just the monthly fee?
Well,
To keep, I mean, I think we're raising it quite a bit.
right, would you let me do this and get the information to all you all, and then we can get further conversation? Let me come back with the numbers of how many citizens have.
We're talking about going, instead of going to 9, we're going to 10. And then year 2, we're going to 1250. So it's inconsequential, in terms of,
Yeah, that may be a bit much.
It's up 50%. Well, but it is.
over 2 years, yeah. I mean, that's the extra can, right?
Right, the extra can.
But did we go up 50% on the?
yeah, we're
Close.
we're-
Close.
Yeah.
Following.
And the thought behind that as well is to help encourage people to recycle.
I get it. I mean, it affects me because my
Yeah.
apartment building,
Yeah.
I have multiple.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Chris about, 'cause I had, about the recycling, and he said, you're gonna cost us if everyone doesn't do it. And that's what I couldn't get to commitment out of all the renters to
Right.
do it. They're just gonna throw it in the first one and,
Right.
So, and, because I wanted one.
Yeah.
And Chris said, he discouraged me. He said, you're gonna cost the city money.
we can, I mean, we're going to vote on it next time, so we can bring a couple of options here,
I think
and.
It doesn't,
Well, yeah,
affects me more than it does anybody else.
Yeah.
yeah, we would have to have the municipal order ready for, so
Right.
if there's,
Yeah.
just in, what I would suggest, if you've got some additional feedback in between now and, the next time we meet, to provide that, and we can synthesize that in to see if there's a consensus.
Well, let's get out
Yeah.
the difference in the two
Sure.
rates to everybody and make sure everybody sees it.
We've got, very easily can do that, and we'll get that out tomorrow, but it's just changing the formulas in
Yeah.
there, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments or suggestions?
One thing, Chris, that we also talk about, I think it's good for the commission to understand also, is as we talk about as we go to more recycling and that education component, but also that, we do periodically check those recycling, we do an audit of
Yes,
that as well
yes.
to make sure, so.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you may have an email regarding that, the audit, us checking cans to make sure the right items are in the cans, spot checking, and things like that, so.
Yeah, what'd you say? I might have an email?
Yeah,
Is that what-
regarding that topic, that subject,
Oh,
just
okay.
not what, yeah.
Okay. And I think that's all part of the education component, because I think we just need to put the effort into that, whether it be checking cans periodically or.
And with anything, the hardest part comes in getting into the habit, and, within a couple of weeks, everyone should be in pretty good shape as far as the habit of recycling.
So what I love the most about your presentation tonight was the fact that you recognize depreciation is not a cash item. It's great to have an accountant as a director of Public Works.
I am not accountant, but I did sleep in the Holiday Inn last night.
I think you have some education there.
Yes,
So.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, Chris.
Good job, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate
it. Okay, with that, any comments from city manager?
Mayor and Commission, just want, and for the public's knowledge, that next Monday is a holiday, it's Martin Luther King. Invite you to participate in the NAACP Martin Luther King event that's going on, the walk. Will actually this year, because of the work that's going on at the Cherry Civic Center, the parking will be across the street. And the walk that, and then followed up by an event at Paducah Tillman High School. But it is a holiday next
Is the walk
Monday.
at 10? Is that what time it's starting?
9.
The walk starts at 9. Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be balmy weather too. So,
You can always meet at the MLK Park area
Yep.
if you're not
Into walking.
physically going to. be
that's
able to walk
true.
it.
That's true. Okay, any comments from commissioners? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.